Remember the first time Stefan Salvatore's eyes met Elena Gilbert's across the crowded grill? It was a moment straight out of a storybook. Him, leaning against the bar with a glass of bourbon he never drank, his jaw tight with the weight of a century of secrets. Her, laughing with Bonnie, a flicker of sadness in her eyes still raw from losing her parents. In that second, you could feel it. This was no ordinary small-town meet-cute. This was the start of a fairy tale. One with fangs, sure, but a fairy tale all the same. Stefan was the quintessential brooding vampire, the kind who hides his darkness to protect the ones he loves, and Elena was the compassionate human who saw past the fangs to the boy beneath. It was star-crossed lovers a 101, two people bound by loss, drawn to each other like moths to a flame, even as the world around them and the monsters in it threatened to tear them apart. Stefan's allure wasn't just his good looks or his quiet charm, it was the way he tried. He drank animal blood until his veins ached, just to avoid hurting anyone. He lied about his past, not to deceive Elena, but to shield her from the horror of what he'd been. A ripper, a killer, a monster he spent decades running from. When he finally told her the truth, in the woods outside Mystic Falls, his voice shook as he said, "I don't want to hurt you. I never will." That vulnerability was magnetic. Elena, for her part, didn't flinch. She'd lost so much already. Her parents, her sense of safety, and here was someone who understood that kind of pain. She saw the good in him when he couldn't see it himself, and that belief became the foundation of their love. It was pure, uncomplicated, and exactly what both of them needed, a lifeline in a world that felt like it was crumbling. Then, there were the moments that turned Stelina from a ship into a memory etched in every fan's heart. The rain kiss, the dance, the quiet nights where they forgot about vampires and doppelgangers and just were. Let's start with the rain. It was a stormy night. Elena upset after a fight with Jeremy, and Stefan found her standing in the middle of the street, soaked to the bone. He didn't say much. He never did. He just pulled her close, and when he kissed her, it was like the rain washed away all the noise. There were no fangs, no secrets, no threats, just two people clinging to each other, desperate for a moment of peace. It was innocent, the kind of kiss that makes you hold your breath, because you can feel how much they care without a single word. Then, the dance. It was a small-town festival, the kind Mystic Falls loved to throw to pretend it was normal. Stefan showed up at Elena's door with a bouquet of her favorite flowers, and they danced under the fairy lights, his hand on her waist, hers on his shoulder. The world around them faded, Bonnie and Caroline laughing in the background, the sound of a band playing old songs, even the distant howl of a werewolf. For those few minutes, they were just a boy and a girl, not a vampire and a doppelganger. Elena smiled like she hadn't smiled in months, and Stefan's eyes softened like he'd finally found a place he belonged. That's the magic of their early love. It turned a town of darkness into something bright, if only for a little while. But fairy tales have a way of unraveling, and Stelina's undoing was in its very foundation. It was too safe, too tied to a version of Elena that couldn't last. When Elena became a vampire in season 4, everything shifted. She stopped being the girl who needed saving. She started embracing her new strength. Her hunger, the parts of herself that Stefan had always tried to shield, but Stefan couldn't keep up. He still saw her as the human girl he'd met in the grill, the one who needed his protection. He begged her to stop drinking human blood, to stay good, even as she told him, "This is who I am now." Their love had been built on Stefan protecting Elena, but when Elena no longer wanted to be protected, what was left? The flaw was never that they didn't love each other. It was that their love relied on stagnation. Stefan couldn't let go of the past, the boy he wanted to be, the girl he wanted Elena to be, and Elena couldn't stay stuck in it. She was evolving, growing into someone bolder, messier, more alive, even as a vampire. And Stefan's devotion, which had once been his greatest strength, became a weight. Remember when he left town in season 5? He told Elena, "I need to find myself again," but what he really needed was to find a way to love the new her, not the ghost of the girl he'd fallen for. There's a scene in season 6 that sums it up perfectly. Elena and Stefan are sitting on the porch of the Gilbert house, the same porch where they'd shared so many quiet moments. She says, "I love you, Stefan, but I'm not in love with you anymore." It's not angry or bitter, it's sad, like saying goodbye to a childhood friend. Because that's what Stelina had become, a memory of a time when things were simpler, when love felt like a fairy tale. They both changed, and their love couldn't keep up. Does that make their story any less epic? No. Because the best fairy tales aren't the ones that end happily ever after, they're the ones that stay with you, even when they're over. Stelina was the almost perfect love, the kind that teaches you what it means to care deeply, to sacrifice, to believe in someone. It was a fairy tale that didn't last, but it mattered. It mattered because it showed us that even in darkness, there's beauty and vulnerability. Even in a town full of monsters, there's magic in a boy who tries to be good and a girl who sees him for it. So when you rewatch those early episodes, Stefan and Elena walking through the cemetery, talking about loss, the rain kiss, the dance, the quiet, I love yous, don't mourn what didn't last. Celebrate what was. A love that was pure, that was brave, that was real. Stelina may have been the epic fairy tale that almost was, but sometimes the almost is enough to stay with you forever. When Damon Salvatore first sauntered into Mystic Falls' grill, bourbon in hand, smirk sharp enough to cut glass, and a quip about his boring little brother hanging in the air, he didn't just crash Stefan's quiet new life. He shattered the entire fairy tale. Everyone, including Elena, had started to believe in. Stefan was the brooding hero, the vampire who tried to be good. Damon was the chaos, the one who didn't apologize for his fangs, who mocked the idea of protecting. Elena like she was a fragile doll, who looked at her and saw not just a doppelganger of Catherine, but a girl who could handle a little darkness. From the second he leaned in and said, "Hello, Catherine," or should I say, Elena? He challenged everything, her perception of vampires, her loyalty to Stefan, and the audience's own urge to root for the safe love story. We weren't supposed to like him. He compelled her, he lied, he even tried to hurt her to get to Stefan. But that's the thing about Damon, chaos is magnetic, and we couldn't look away. At first, their dynamic was all sizzling, tension-sharp words that masked something deeper, glances that lingered too long, moments where the line between hatred and desire blurred. Remember that scene in season 1 when Elena confronted Damon about killing Vicky? He cornered her against a wall, his voice low, and said, "You want to hate me? Good. Hate keeps you sharp." But his eyes told a different story. There was hurt there, and something else, something he wasn't ready to name. Or the time he compelled her to forget their kiss. But the memory lingered in her bones, a faint ache she couldn't explain. This wasn't the soft, gentle love of Stelina. This was a slow burn, the kind that builds in stolen moments. Damon saving her from a werewolf without her knowing. Elena yelling at him for being reckless, only to find herself worried when he got hurt. Them sitting on the Gilbert porch at 2 a.m., drinking coffee and talking about loss like they were the only two people who understood. We resisted it at first. How could we root for the guy who'd done so much harm? But the more we saw, the more we realized. Damon's bad wasn't just cruelty. It was honesty. He didn't pretend to be something he wasn't, and that made the moments when he did care, when he put her safety above his own pride, hit that much harder. But Elena's real power wasn't just passion. It was transformation. When Elena became a vampire in season 4, the world split into two sides. Those who wanted to fix her, Stefan, Bonnie, even Jeremy, and Damon, who wanted her to embrace herself. Stefan begged her to drink animal blood, to hold on to her humanity, like it was a lifeline. Damon, he took her hunting. He said, "You're a vampire now. Stop apologizing for it." He taught her to control her hunger, not by suppressing it, but by understanding it. He showed her that being a monster didn't mean she had to be cruel, that her darkness could be a strength, not a flaw. Remember that scene in season 4, when Elena lost control and fed on a stranger, then broke down in tears, convinced she was broken? Damon pulled her close and said, "You're not broken. You're just different. And different isn't bad, it's just different." That's the gift he gave her, permission to stop being the good girl everyone expected her to be. To stop hiding parts of herself to make others comfortable. To be unapologetically messy, alive, even as a vampire. He pushed her, too. Sometimes too hard. He made her face the truth about Stefan's Ripper past, not to hurt her, but to make her see that love shouldn't require blindness. He made her fight for what she wanted, even when it was scary. When she was under the sire bond, he refused to take advantage of it. He waited until she chose him freely, because he wanted her, not a version of her that was forced to love him. And when she finally did choose him, in season 5, it wasn't because he saved her. It was because he saw her. Really saw her. The vampire, the survivor, the girl who'd stopped needing a hero. She told him, "I love you, Damon, not because of the sire bond, because of you." In that moment, she wasn't just choosing a boyfriend, she was choosing to be herself. And Damon, he'd been waiting for that girl all along. This wasn't a perfect love story. It was messy. He fought. They hurt each other. They made mistakes. But that's what made her real. Stelina was a fairy tale. Soft, safe, meant to be cherished from afar. Stelina was a fire, unpredictable, intense, sometimes destructive, but always alive. It didn't just change Elena, it changed Damon too. He went from a vampire who didn't care about anyone to someone who'd sacrifice himself to save her. And he did more than once. He learned that love isn't about possession or power. It's about letting someone be who they are, even if it means you have to grow too. Years later, when we think about Elena, we don't just remember the kisses or the drama. We remember the way they made each other better. The way Damon taught Elena to stop apologizing for her darkness, and the way Elena taught Damon to believe in his own light. They were two broken people who didn't fix each other. They just loved each other enough to let each other heal. That's the magic of their fire. It didn't burn out. It evolved. And in the end, it wasn't just a love story. It was a story about finding your true self, with a little chaos, a lot of passion, and someone who loves you exactly as you are. It's October 2025, and we're still talking about Elena Gilbert and the Salvatore brothers. Let that sink in. Over a decade after The Vampire Diaries ended, we're still arguing about Delena versus Delena, still rewatching The Rain Kiss, still getting chills when Damon says, "I love you, Elena." And it's not because of the sire bond. It's because of you. Why? Why does this love triangle refuse to fade, even as new shows come and go? It's not just nostalgia, though. Let's be honest, that's part of it. It's because the story beneath the ships, about destiny versus free will, good versus evil, and the messy, unbreakable power of unconditional love, isn't just a TV plot. It's the stuff of our lives. And that's why it resonates, year after year, long after Mystic Falls faded from our screens. Let's start with destiny versus free will, the backbone of Elena's journey. The show kept telling her she was meant to be a doppelganger, meant to be tangled in the Salvatore brothers' past, meant to sacrifice herself for the greater good. Remember when Esther tried to kill her to break the vampire curse? Or when the travelers wanted to use her blood to erase all vampires? The world kept boxing her into a destiny that wasn't hers. But Elena fought back every single time. Her choice to love Damon wasn't written in some ancient prophecy. It wasn't because she was Catherine's doppelganger, or because the universe meant it. It was because she chose him, after years of growing, of losing, of figuring out who she was, beyond the girl who needed saving. That's why it hits so hard in 2025. We're all still fighting our own destinies. The ones our family set for us, the ones society expects, the ones we think we should follow. Elena's choice reminds us that we get to write our own stories, even when the world says otherwise. Then there's good versus evil, but not the black and white kind. TVD didn't give us heroes and villains, it gave us people. Stefan spent years running from his Ripper past, convinced he was irredeemable, yet he kept fighting to be good, even when it broke him. Damon started as the bad brother, the one who compelled people and laughed at chaos, yet he learned to love selflessly, to sacrifice himself for the ones he cared about. Remember his final sacrifice in the series finale? He took Stefan's place to kill Catherine, knowing he'd die too. That moment wasn't just a redemption arc. It was a reminder that good and evil aren't fixed. We're all capable of both, and love has a way of bringing out the best in us, even when we think we're too far gone. In 2025, when we're surrounded by stories that paint people as all good or all bad, TVD's nuance feels fresh. It tells us that growth is possible, that even when we mess up, even when we hurt people, we can choose to be better. And that's a message we still need to hear. And let's not forget unconditional love. Not the fairy tale kind, but the real, messy kind. Stefan loved Elena so much that he let her go. He didn't beg her to stay, didn't make her feel guilty. He just said, if you love him, then choose him. That's love without possession, love that puts her happiness above his own. Damon loved Elena so much that he waited. He didn't force her to choose him, didn't use the sire bond to manipulate her. He let her grow, let her figure out who she was, and was there when she was ready. That's love without control. Love that accepts her exactly as she is. In a world where love is often portrayed as grand gestures or dramatic fights, TVD showed us the quiet, hard parts, letting go, waiting, accepting. And that's the kind of love that stays with us, because we've all been there. We've loved someone so much, we had to let them go. We've waited for someone to catch up to us. We've loved someone not despite their flaws, but because of them. So let's circle back to the question we've all been asking since 2009. Which side are you on, and why? Are you Team Stefan because you believe in redemption? In the quiet courage of fighting to be good? Because you've been the one who's tried to fix yourself for someone you love? Or are you Team Damon because you believe in acceptance, in the freedom of loving someone without trying to change them? Because you've been the one who's felt like your flaws made you unlovable until someone proved you wrong? Maybe you're still on the fence, and that's okay too. The beauty of this debate isn't picking a side, it's what your choice says about you. It's the way this story makes you reflect on your own loves, your own choices, your own journey. So leave a comment. Tell us your why. Because this debate isn't just about a TV show. It's about us, and the things we value, and the love we're all still searching for. At the end of the day, The Vampire Diaries' lasting legacy isn't about who Elena ended up with. It's about the journey she took to get there. It's about a girl who started out lost, grieving her parents, and ended up finding her voice, her strength, and her own version of happiness. It's about two brothers who learned to put aside their hatred and love each other. It's about a town full of monsters who turned out to be human, after all. We don't remember TVD for the ships. We remember it for the way it made us feel, the way it made us cry, the way it made us hope, the way it made us believe that even in our darkest moments, we can choose love. In October 2025, when we rewatch those old episodes, we're not just watching Elena, Stefan, and Damon. We're watching parts of ourselves, the parts that fight for free will, the parts that struggle with good and evil, the parts that love fiercely even when it's hard. And that's why this story will never die. Because love, growth, and self-discovery, those are timeless. Those are the things that keep us coming back, year after year, debate after debate, heart after heart,